Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I rise to speak on a growing issue of extreme importance as Minister responsible for communications, the responsible ethical use of social media in Fiji. This, Madam Speaker, is an emerging challenge that deals directly with how we treat and communicate with our fellow Fijians, and ultimately that will define our character as a society. Our ability to respect each other, our ability to maintain and uphold human dignity, our ability to maintain the rule of law, and of course protect our independent institutions and our sovereignty. Madam Speaker, some members of this House, Parliament, have seen the newspaper this weekend where the grieving family members of deceased young men were forced to respond to false and vicious postings on social media on the death of their son. The incident stemmed from a Facebook post last week where certain individuals posted photos of the deceased young man. The post and the photographs make it very difficult viewing, and I can only imagine the impact those photos may have had on his family and the loved ones. Accompanying these personal photographs on the Facebook post was a dangerous and disturbing lie that this young man had been punched, kicked and tortured by police officers who we were talking about yesterday. Madam Speaker, the young man's grieving family has since corrected the record. They've said that none of these allegations are true, and that sadly the young man contracted a very serious illness and passed away after being admitted to the Lautoka hospital. Madam Speaker, in the midst of an unimaginable difficult time, they've had to push back against selfish and evil lies on social media about the death of their son. They didn't ask to be put in that position, but because of the completely irresponsible and inappropriate actions by some social media users in Fiji, they've had their privacy deeply violated, and they've had to respond to these lies in the time of mourning. Madam Speaker, we can only see very clearly that whomever posted those pictures on social media were attempting to use the tragic death of this young man to push a political agenda and suit their own purposes. They sought to take advantage of a vulnerable family and slander the women and men of the Fiji police force to incite mistrust, anger and hatred in our society, and in particular against the police force and of course consequently the government. Madam Speaker, that Facebook post was engaged with by over 4,000 people, and many thousands more would have seen it on social media. So we cannot underestimate the impact of this kind of behavior and what it can do. What we can do is to call out that behavior for exactly what it is. It is evil, it is pure and simple, Madam Speaker. It is vicious. It is totally at odds with the decency and compassion of the Fijian spirit. This is a deeply tragic example of the harm that false information on social media can cause. But unfortunately, it is only one example of many. We've spoken on other examples before. We've seen crude and hurtful insults made on the basis of ethnicity and religion being thrown at ordinary people. We've seen Fijians being sexually harassed and exploited, including a woman recently whose privacy was violated to the extreme, as she was live-streamed while undressing without her consent in the privacy of her own home, and the footage was sold and viewed by others. And tragically, we have even had young people who've committed suicide because of cyberbullying on social media. In some pages and forums, social media in Fiji has become a web of these lies, racism, mistruths, bullying and hatred. And not surprisingly, it is almost always the same cowards who hide behind the same fake profiles who are putting out these lies and false attacks on social media. We have even witnessed, Madam Speaker, fake profiles pretending to be members of a religious or ethnic group. These profiles have then been used as masks, saying hateful things to members of another background of faith in an attempt to create deep, harmful divides in our national life. Madam Speaker, what is most disturbing is that as these fake profiles go about posting blatant lies, taking advantage of unsuspecting people for their own purposes and spreading racism, religious vilification and bigotry online, never do we hear one word of condemnation from those on that side of the House, Madam Speaker. That silence, their silence is deafening, as we said before. Now, why do they choose not to speak out, Madam Speaker, and denounce this behavior, Madam Speaker? We all know why. Because it is because the same lies and same fear-mongering have always been the favourite tactics in the opposition's playbook. They don't condemn the actions of these fake profiles, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, because they believe it befits them. They don't condemn the fake news, racism, hatred and other falsehoods, because like it or not, Madam Speaker, these same fake profiles are also putting out posts in support of members of the opposition. Madam Speaker, therein lies the truth. There lies the only reason why SODELPA and NFP fight against any effort to protect the Fijian people from abuse, exploitation and harassment on social media. Because many of the lies being spread on social media are the same lies that members of the opposition have tried themselves to spread among the Fijian people many times before. The same ethnic attacks, the same false rumors and the same unfounded allegations. But while they may think this somehow benefits them politically to let these lies spread on Facebook, I hope they know it is ordinary Fijians, Madam Speaker, who are suffering. Madam Speaker, but really, how can we be surprised? How can we be surprised that these fake profiles are telling such blatant and dangerous lies on social media when we have the likes of Honourable Niko Nawaikula saying in this Parliament that he can say whatever he likes even if it's false? Well, Honourable Member, your supporters are taking notice, and they too are saying whatever they want, even if it's false, even if it hurts other Fijians, even if it is evil. How can we be surprised when we have now a former MP actively spreading fake doctored videos of our Honourable Prime Minister on Facebook, even going so far as to claim the video itself was true when questioned by the media, because of his complete and utter lack of judgment and integrity. Within a matter of hours, thousands of Fijians were misled by his actions. They had been misled by someone who really ought to have held himself to much higher standards of respect and dignity. Madam Speaker, how can we be surprised when NFP candidates have been seen lying on social media about the whereabouts of our Honourable Prime Minister? We have seen posts claiming he was away from Fiji, when in reality he was here, doing his job, delivering for ordinary Fijians. But we even had a political party, Madam Speaker, go as far as to echo these fake social media claims in an official party statement. And please, Honourable Prasad, let me stop you before you tell this Parliament once again that everything is fair game in politics. That is an extremely dangerous mentality. Lies are never fair game, Madam Speaker. Abuse is never fair game. And harassment and exploitation are never fair game, Madam Speaker. This House called an August House for a reason. And that reason is that all of us, as elected representatives, must be held to a higher standard. That honourability, Madam Speaker, applies in this House and outside of it as soon as we go outside too. We all must set the example at all times for how to engage with one another without telling lies, without preying on unsuspecting people, and without inciting hatred and division among our people. Because when we fail in that obligation, Madam Speaker, especially when we fail to condemn those words and actions from others, the Fijian people see that. Some go on to do the same, and that drags all of us back into the past. Make no mistake, Honourable Prasad, your silence is compliance, as I've said to you numerous times. And by saying and doing nothing, you are condoning those vicious words and irresponsible actions. Madam Speaker, it is no coincidence that online fake profiles echo the same words of SODELPA and NFP politicians. It is no coincidence that they take their cues from the men and women on that side of the House. For example, Madam Speaker, when members of the opposition come here and attempt to undermine and question the independence of our institutions without proof, the very foundation of our democracy, it is no coincidence that these fake Facebook profiles immediately scramble to attack our institutions and attack the hard-working Fijians who run them. Of course, Madam Speaker, the reality is that the men and women running our institutions are all fierce defenders of their own independence. But unfortunately, Madam Speaker, even you have been the subject of such personal attacks for simply doing your job. Most recently, Madam Speaker, because you exercise your legal authority, your legal right to suspend Honourable Prasad, supporters of the opposition are attacking you, your office, and by doing so, they are attacking an arm of the state. There are three arms to the state. The legislature. Some of these posts are too sickening to read and repeat, Madam Speaker. I just saw one this morning. Yet they litter these forums on social media that support the opposition parties. And yet again, Madam Speaker, we see no condemnation from SODELPA and NFP. Not one word of protest, not an ounce of effort given to stop this abuse from happening. Madam Speaker, the vitriol we're seeing on social media is the same politics of ethnic division and religious vilification that once inflicted untold damage upon our country. But just as we condemn that language and behavior in our communities, in businesses and in politics, Just as we condemn it in this Parliament, so we must condemn it on Facebook and other social media, Madam Speaker. We certainly cannot afford to remain silent, like those on that side of the House choose to do so over and over again. What is really astounding, Madam Speaker, is that after failing to condemn this sort of behaviour, the opposition, including Honourable Prasad, have the gall to come to this House and complain about electoral practices. After failing to condemn the harmful, racist vitriol that once led to the creation of discriminatory and exclusionary electoral systems in this country, he spends his time questioning our internationally accredited sound electoral practices. When it is this government, Madam Speaker, and this electoral system that finally gave every Fijian's vote equal value, that finally put all of our people on equal footing, and that finally shut the door on racist backward election in Fiji, and finally allowed those three people to be here. Madam Speaker, some are quick to claim that any efforts to protect Fijians from social media abuse, and I say again, Madam Speaker, abuse, is somehow the other an attack on freedom of expression. Many of these cries are from the same bullies who hide behind keyboards inflicting pain on their fellow Fijians. But make no mistake, Madam Speaker, members of the opposition, explicitly or implicitly, are actively enabling this abuse as well. Because even while innocent Fijians are suffering, they believe they stand to benefit from the lies and the attacks on this country and our democracy that we are seeing from fake profiles on Facebook and other social platforms. Quite ironically, Madam Speaker, many of these spaces on Facebook and other social media actually champion themselves as spaces of free expression, when the reality is that they are some of the most repressive spaces anywhere in Fiji. To even contribute to these forums, Fijians must follow the forum's set of restrictive rules, share the forum's opinions, and push the forum's agenda. Madam Speaker, that is hardly a free and open exchange of ideas. But again, we hear nothing but silence from the opposition. Madam Speaker, this issue isn't only affecting Fijians. Just this month, the European Union announced they are taking steps to protect their member countries from the spread of fake news on social media. And the EU is also concerned that social media companies are not doing nearly enough to remove misleading and illegal content, including content that incites hatred and extremism. Australia has passed legislation protecting children from cyberbullying and social media abuse as well. And in the United States, the CEO and founder of Facebook, Mark Zuckerberg, has just appeared before the United States Senate committee to be questioned on Facebook's privacy practices. There, he actually admitted that Facebook does not do enough to prevent the platform from causing harm, including limiting the spread of fake news and hate speech. He said it will take up to a decade to develop computer programs that can automatically stop the spread of hate speech and false information. And for now, it is up to the users to flag and report inappropriate material. Madam Speaker, it is up to us, all of us. So the world is waking up to this problem, Madam Speaker, and we in Fiji need to wake up to this problem as well. Because Fijians deserve better than fake profiles, fake news sources, and unaccountable, irresponsible actors on social media. They deserve social media platforms that they can rely on for accurate news and reliable information. Because, Madam Speaker, don't get me wrong, there are many benefits to the responsible and ethical use of social media. Social media can connect Fijians to one another within our country and build bridges between Fiji and other parts of the world. Stories of Fijians facing the brunt of climate impact, for example, are being shared all around the world on social media, educating people across the globe about the serious impact climate change is having in Fiji and the Pacific. In times of crisis, I've seen the tremendous potential for good. Myself, I was put on various groups in the recent climatic events we had, when true and accurate disaster-related information and messages needed to be relayed as quickly as possible. So we must put value on the truth. We must protect the truth. And we must condemn those who use these platforms to cause harm, spread lies and misinformation, and misinform our citizens. Madam Speaker, the ultimate purpose of any government is to look after for the well-being of its citizens, to safeguard them from harm. That is why we need to make responsible social media use a priority and do what we can to protect vulnerable people from the serious harm that bad actors can cause via social media. Harm we would never allow to occur in our communities, in our businesses, and other areas of our national life. That is why the government has put forward the Online Safety Bill 2018. We are confident this is a very smart, good start. The bill calls for commission that will promote online safety, organize awareness programs and work with relevant organizations and governments to propose new legislation to protect our people from serious emotional trauma that false and malicious social media postings can cause. Because threats to the well-being and safety of our people, Madam Speaker, can harm just as easily by electronic communication, they need to be treated just as seriously. Madam Speaker, there is no excuse for dragging our feet when it comes to protecting our people. Every day we do not take action, another Fijian is bullied, is misled, is blackmailed and abused, another independent institution is attacked. And for the sake of our people, we must take action. Madam Speaker, when it comes to safety on social media, the bottom line is this. If you're an everyday user, there's a simple two-question test that any Fijian can take to determine if you are the root of the problem that we need to address. Question 1. Look at yourself in the mirror. Are you who you say you are on social media? Are you representing yourself truthfully? Question 2. Are you being responsible and ethical on social media as opposed to spreading lies, racism and hatred? If the answer to both these questions is yes, then you're not the concern. If you are being responsible, and you should expect the same from your fellow Fijians who will be using these platforms. But Madam Speaker, even responsible users can be taken advantage of by bad actors and fake profiles. So please tread carefully. I implore all Fijians, think about the posts you are liking and verify the posts before you actually share them, especially posts from strangers. Every Fijian within their families and communities is looked to as a trusted source of information by their friends and loved ones. And that trust in each other forms the very fabric of our society. So please check what you're reading before sharing. I urge our community leaders, our religious leaders and thought leaders to use their influence to raise public awareness on this issue and help create a culture on Fijian social media that values the truth and that values mutual respect, acceptance, compassion. I urge Fijian parents to exercise extreme caution when it comes to the children's use of social media. There are evil people out there who use social media as a tool to target our young people, and we need to do what is necessary to protect our youngest Fijians from harm. We all need to think critically about what we read on social media and make sure that what we post and share is true. I urge every Fijian to challenge and report lies and exploitation on social media whenever and wherever they see them. Madam Speaker, none of us want to read more stories like the story of that young man and his family in Lautoka. None of us want to live in a society where we have to sort out through a mountain of lies and misinformation to find the truth. And none of us want to enable cowardly individuals who hide behind fake profiles to hurt and target our fellow Fijians. Really, this issue is far bigger than social media, Madam Speaker. It is about our attitude and our embrace of the truth in Fijian society. It is about the respect we hold for our country men and women. And it is about preserving the bonds of nationhood that unite us in a journey forward as one nation and one people. So, Madam Speaker, let's not desecrate the truth. Let's not desecrate all standards of decent behavior just because you want to win the elections. Because once you cause ruin and create mistrust with lies, it is very difficult to rebuild trust in our society after that. We all have a duty to fight for the truth and condemn lies, slander and abuse wherever we see that is happening in Fijian society, including on our social media. The truth is that we owe the Fijian people, and that is what the members on this side of the House, including that side there, are committed to doing. That is why, Madam Speaker, we must embrace the truth and reject lies, wherever and whenever we encounter them. Thank you, Madam Speaker.